I am just a man in recovery doing my very best to share a positive message of love and hope.
Shit.
My name's Danny Shannon. I spent 17 years in the pain, hurt and misery of active addiction, heroin.
Oh my God, what has happened to my intro?
I am just a man in recovery doing my...
Okay, well, that was awkward. Let me... Guys, everyone on there listening, as I just said, I have no idea what I'm doing. We don't need the intro. Guys, welcome everyone to the Kick the Shit podcast. Thank you everyone for being on here. I see there's quite a few people on the screen. Our intro to the Kick the Shit podcast season 2 has just kind of blown up. I want to give a special thank you to Koahani for sponsoring this podcast today. Koahani are helping people help themselves. They provide NDIS support and coordination. And guys, today I'm very blessed to have a bunch of men on here. We've got Callum, Michael and Campbell, 3 boys who are related to each other and 3 men who I've heard parts of their stories over the last 12 months that really inspired me, and it makes me really happy to have you guys right here on the show. So welcome to you guys. Thank you for coming on.
Thanks, Danny.
For having us, Danny.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
All right, pumped. So look, it's really organic chat, and we just want to dive a little bit into the story. Like, I think it's absolutely incredible. And what really struck me about you 3 guys is that I work with a lot of people in addiction, you know, in some way, shape or form. And often when I hear that 3 guys from the same family have come together who are all in recovery, I think it gives so much motivation and inspiration to so many people. And that's basically why we're here. Callum, do you want to give us a bit of an intro to yourself, mate? How long were you out there in addiction? How long you been in recovery for? Maybe your drug of choice?
Sure, Danny. My name's Callum. I'm an addict. I've been clean since the 3rd of February 2022. I was out there in the madness, using meth for 12 years, and I had a lot of alcohol and other drug issues from probably when I was about 13 and onwards.
So what's that?
I'm 30 now, so yeah, I was out for a while.
So how long is that clean then, Callum?
I'm 17 months and 19 days.
Congratulations, mate.
Thanks, bro.
You. And what's your relation to these 2?
Well, Campbell is my older brother. Same parents, mum and dad, and Michael is our cousin by luck. Our dad got remarried to his auntie. So, yeah.
Incredible. Thank you. Hey, Campbell, you want to give us a bit of an intro, mate?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, look, I'm 6 months, just a bit over 6 months clean.
Congratulations.
I was out there using drugs and alcohol for about 19 years on and off. Yeah, like I came into recovery October 21st, 2021. And yeah, it's been it's been a really good journey so far, you know what I mean? It's brought us back together, you know what I mean? It was spun. The story's a bit spun. It's a massive God job, you know. It's
sure.
It really is. Like, honestly, what are the chances of having all 3 of you related in recovery with all similar clean times? I think it's absolutely a God job. And you're Callum's brother.
Yeah, older brother, yeah.
Older brother, yeah.
Better looking one too, yeah. No.
Yeah. Both very handsome boys. And Michael, you want to give us an intro, mate?
Yeah, Michael, addict. I was an ice addict for 10 years. Been in recovery for 19 months. I'm 7 months and 16 days clean. Had a slip up just shy of a year. Yeah, it's been life changing coming in recovery.
What was your drug of concern or your drug of choice?
I was loyal to the foil. I was an ice addict.
Loyal to the foil. Hey, so we got Michael 7 months, Campbell 6 months, and Callum 18 months around about. I know I didn't get those numbers.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I think just incredible to have you 3 guys all together, all related, and all in the same What? We live within 5 kilometres of each other, do we all?
Yeah.
I'm in the
Nah.
west.
We grew up in the Riverina, mid Campbell, so we're in a little country town near Wagga. But Michael when we were growing up, he was always coming down for Christmas and spending time with us and stuff. So we all grew up with each other. But yeah.
Yeah, cool. All right, let's get into it. I want to hear the idea of this show is just to sort of highlight some of our struggles in addiction, and I know you men have been through some struggles, absolutely, and then to celebrate a little bit about what we're doing today and in our recovery. Callum, would you mind kicking off? Just share a little bit about what it was like for you.
Sure. Me and Campbell, we grew up in a broken home. Our parents split up when we were both very young, and like I said, Dad got remarried, and we had a little sister. And I don't know, like growing up, it was very difficult for me to find my place to fit in. I was a kid really full of fear. But we were very loved. I feel like we were very loved in our home, and we always had shelter and we always had food and all that stuff. And but when I was 10, so when I tell this story, I'm still telling Campbell's side of the story as well. But when I was 10, like our dad passed away from cancer. That was very, very traumatic time because we only saw him on second weekends and stuff. So it was that was hard. And I can remember just from the age of 10 and onwards, like I was already thinking about just not wanting to live anymore. Like I just couldn't find a place to fit in. I just felt like I was different to everyone else. I was overweight as a child. I was getting bullied, and like I struggled at schools and shit. And by the time I was 13, like I remember I was going to high school, and before I was going to school, I was like, our mum's an alcoholic, and she's a school teacher. She's a very functioning alcoholic, and going to school, I was stealing her wine and putting it in my drink bottle, and just so I could get through the days at school. So that's when I was 13, probably 14 years old, yeah. And that was just I could because I couldn't stand going to school. I didn't have a group of friends. Everyone played sports, and I was the overweight kid, and like I just couldn't find my spot, and felt very different from everyone because all their parents were still married and happily married, and I was like, I was fucking. It was just honestly, like I was making out that the world was just really against me from a young age, and that's when the alcohol came into play, and probably when I was about 15, like party drugs started to come on the scene for me, and like a lot of drama was caused with me as a teenager. Like I had run-ins with police and shit, and finally when I left school at the start of year 11, and that's when like it really just took off for me. Like I had no drive for life at all. Very depressed, and just started drinking daily, and so that was when I was probably 16 or 17, and by the time I was 18, I found meth for the first time, and it was like all the answers to my prayers. The prayers were answered. You know what I mean? Like I was finally like, I just felt like I could fit in everywhere, and I could talk to people, and I was confident within myself, and like it was a different ball game for me once I started smoking ice, and by the time I was 21, like I got in a relationship with this girl who had a young son, and all I really wanted to do was like just have a family sort of life, and so I took on this little boy as my own, and everything was all right. Like then Docs got involved because of my drug use, and like she was using drugs as well, and I was dealing drugs. I was getting arrested constantly. In this small little town, you can't really get away with much, and I was started becoming very well known to the police. And she was pregnant at the time with our daughter, and Docs got involved. Our eldest son got removed, still using drugs. Our daughter was born with, and she was born with drugs in the system, and she was 7 days old. She was removed from her care. Fell pregnant straight away. Had our youngest son, and my partner, she stayed clean, and I didn't. I just couldn't fucking stop. Like, as sad as it sounds, like when I say it, like I fucking didn't want to stop. You know, like the drugs. I was just a fucking slave to this drug, man. Like it just had a hold of me, and the last thing I thought about doing was getting off it. Like it fucking yeah. And our son was born in 2015, and 8 days old or 9 days old, he was removed from our care due to me providing dirty urines, and but just to me that was like a reason that I could keep going, and fucking I was lying my way through life, you know. I was lying to my partner, saying that, trying to convince her I was clean, trying to convince everyone else I was clean, and I wasn't. And that relationship ended in 2018. It became very, very toxic, and you know, it just wasn't a good relationship by the end of it. And then I just saw that as another way out to continue doing what I thought was my calling in life. You know, I just thought I was fucking destined to be a drug dealer, a drug user, because I was making money. I was still, you know, I had people around me. Like I finally felt like people liked me, and but really on the inside, I fucking hated myself daily, and I wanted to die daily. I was just painting this picture that I was looking great, and then in like 2020, like I was still getting arrested in between a lot for drug related stuff, and luckily, like I'm very lucky. Like I never got sentenced to jail. Like I always thought I was outsmarting the courts because they would drop the charges on me, and I was like, fuck, I'm outsmarting all these cunts. Like no, like you know what I mean. And mid 2020, I got done for selling rock salt to an undercover cop, and they finally got me. And you know, I knew that in my head, I knew that this person was a police officer, but I just wanted the money because I wanted to get on, because I fucking wanted to just keep using and keep using and keep using and keep using. Like it was fucking disgusting. Like there was days where like if I couldn't get on, I was doing anything I could to get on. If that came down to robbing my own family, to fucking robbing anyone in my past, doing just, you know, gross, like just the stuff that people do when they're in addiction. You know what I mean? And yeah, like I end up finally getting done by the coppers. And by this time I got into another relationship with a really nice woman, and she let me into her house, and I started to feel like she has two beautiful kids, and I felt like I was finally part of this family life again. And I thought that I started feeling like I was actually feeling really good about myself, but that slowly all just came to an end as well, because I just stopped using. Like I still had no drive for life. I didn't want to work. All I wanted to do was just smoke drugs, sell drugs, and play the pokies. That was my fucking everyday mission, to do that. That's what I would try to do every single day. And then yeah, November, Campbell and Michael, you know, they went into recovery. And me and Campbell lost a lot of connection with each other through the years, and same as with Michael. Hadn't seen each other for many years, and they ended up in recovery. And Campbell called me. It was, I know, one of my best mates from when I was a kid. He ended up taking his own life in November 2021, and when he done that, like I thought that was going to have to be my way out, because from the outside in, he looked like he had everything going well. He had his own house, he had a job, he had a family, but he always battled demons, and he ended up taking his own life sadly, and that fucking rocked my world. You know, that broke my heart, and I just thought this was going to have to be my way out. Stuck in this town, fucking just so addicted to ice that like the thought of not having it used to scare me. You know, it used to put so much fear in me, and I just couldn't. Yeah, like so I thought I had to die. I really thought I had to die, and that was going to be it. And yeah, fucking I ended up just hurting everyone else around me, everyone that loved me, and I became unfaithful to that woman, which at the end of our relationship, like that blew up in my face. But Campbell ended up ringing me one Christmas. It was Christmas 2021 while he was in recovery, like in rehab, and I just had no care of anything. And like when I answered, I was drunk and I was smoking ice and on the phone doing FaceTime, and like I just had, you know, I just didn't care. And he was like, "Bro, I think you need to do something about this." And I was like, "No, I'm fucking living sweet, bro. Like I'm right." But I was fucking so suicidal, and Yeah, then everything, 3 weeks later, everything blew up with me and my missus, and she kicked me out, and I was back in my mum's house in my childhood bedroom, suicidal. Mum stopped going to work because she thought she was going to come home and find me dead. And she was like, "You need to do something." And like, that's when like I was so willing to fix this relationship. I wasn't willing to get off drugs, didn't want to stop using, but I wanted to do anything to make this woman love me again. So I started ringing rehabs, and I actually called the one that the boys were at, and Campbell miraculously, there's another guy, Joe. He took my call. Like he answered the phone, and they're not allowed to say who it is. And he's like, Gunya resident, and I was like, yeah. And the whole time I was like, fuck, this guy sounds like my brother.
Oh my God.
I was like, my brother's in there. I don't think I'll be able to, but I fucking need to do something. Like I'm at my wit's end. I want to die. Like this is my last chance. You know, I just feel like it was. Still not knowing it was him, and he was like, yep, started stuttering, and he was like, well, I'll put your name forward to the manager, but in the meantime, there's a rehab in Goulburn that's just opened up. Who's in Goulburn? Call Mandala House if you want to call them. And then we hung up the phone, and he messaged me a couple of hours later and told me that it was him on the phone. And within this time of that happening, I've called Mandala, and they've taken me fucking intake over the phone, and they're like, we'll get back to you. And just like it was just shit was meant, like, you know, happening from the heavens, I feel. And yeah, within a week I was in fucking Goulburn rehab.
That's crazy, Callum.
Yeah, bro. And
let's just stop it there for the second. Just to anyone listening, I just want to share that what Callum's talking about is he basically called a rehab where that rehab the resident answered the phone, and his brother answered the phone. Yeah. Wow, that's fuck, what a skin. And because of the rules and that, his brother wasn't able to disclose that. Which good on you, Campbell, for sticking by that rule.
Yeah.
That's commitment to your program. Callum, wow, man. So I really look forward to hearing from Campbell, especially you talked about growing up, and I know some of the things you were saying that so many people are going to relate to, you know, like from a young age, you picked up, like at a young age, you lost your dad at the age of 10. You lost your dad at the age of 10 and started stealing your mum's alcohol and taking it to school and drinking at school at the age of 30. You felt really outcast from the people around you. And I just imagine hearing that I know that a lot of other people do feel that same way, and it's no wonder a lot of us do end up in, you know, drug and alcohol addiction, mate. And Campbell, I wonder when did you? How was it for you watching your bro growing up, and how was your side of the story growing up, mate? Can you?
Yeah, well, like yeah, funnily enough, you know, like growing up, we were all really close, and you know, it was around the same age. Like I was 13, you know, when the old man passed away, and yeah, it just like left like a massive hole in me, you know what I mean, that I wanted to fill, you know what I mean, and yeah, just to answer that question, Danny, you know, like we were in the same town, a really small town, you know, and during the years of using, like yeah, like we couldn't stand each other. We couldn't be in the same room with each other for more than 5 minutes. You know what I mean? And like it was just living in a really small town and not having connection with each other. You know what I mean? Like it was just.
So you didn't live together?
Like growing up, like so from about the age of when we were young, the love was there. You know what I mean? And after the old man passed away, as I said, like there was a massive hole in me, and you know, I remember at his funeral, someone came up to me and said, you know, you're the man of the house now. You're the man of the family, you know. And yeah, man, like the fear that put into me, like it just, I wanted to run from it, you know what I mean? Like, and you know, I was around for a couple of years, but you know, using and everything in the household as a teenager, you know what I mean? I was defiant as, you know what I mean? Didn't get along with my mother, and using alcohol and drugs, you know, really just put that wedge between us, and I didn't want to stop using. So, you know, I was in and out of home from a really young age, you know, coming and going. And yeah, like you know, how do I say it, man? Like, when I was like about 18, I suppose, like I got into this relationship, and I moved in with this woman, you know, and that gave me a bit of structure and routine, and that was like my first, you know, like, as I said, like filling that hole, you know what I mean? So I was always looking for relationships and drugs and everything like that, you know, and during that time, like I owned a house, I owned all the cars and everything like that too, you know what I mean? And I thought I was killing it, and yeah, it was after that relationship broke down that's when I really started hitting the drugs even harder, you know what I mean? That's when I started using intravenously, you know, and yeah, that's once I started then, like it really I don't know, like the anger and the rage and everything like that. Like I felt like the world owed me something, you know what I mean? And I yeah, I don't know, like I always felt like my worth wasn't enough. I always felt really I don't know, man, like I suppose coming in and out of home from an early age, like I didn't have that belonging, and it really showed with the relationship I had with my brother after the relationship broke down, you know what I mean? Because we were really close during that time. Like he would come to the house and everything like that. And then after that, it was just like I really got into the selling, and that's when the meth really started becoming yeah, my drug of choice then, you know. And yeah, as I said, man, like it was really ugly. Like I'd come in, like I'd be at the bottom of the barrel, or I'd be up the top, you know what I mean? And you know, anywhere from selling and stealing and everything like that. Like I can go back when I was like a teenager, I suppose. I'll give like a timeline kind of thing, you know. And when I was in my teenage years, like I was using a lot, and you know, I'd use my mother's house as like the party house every Thursday to Friday night. Like I'd have all the boys, and you know, high school, that's where all the parties would end up happening. You know what I mean? And lots of drugs, lots of alcohol, and yeah, shit. I don't know, man. Like I'm pretty blank, you know, and as I don't know, you know, like fuck. You know, as I was saying, like I ended up stealing from my family at a really young age, and that really put a wedge between me and them too. You know what I mean? Because I was blaming them for a lot of stuff, a lot of it, you know, like how I'm going through this and you're doing nothing for me. You know what I mean? And yeah, I don't know, man. Like it was just ugly. It was really ugly, you know. And but when I first started using, it was really fun, like absolutely fun, and I loved every moment of it. And yeah, like then like going through high school, using a lot. MD was my MDMA was a big thing, big party drug, you know what I mean? And yeah, and that yeah, as I said, the relationships and everything, going in and out of relationships, and it wasn't until like I was about 24. You know, my eldest was born, and as I said, like I was on the ice a lot from 21, and yeah, when he was born, like I was just like pretty much, you know, I don't want to be doing this and giving him the idea that this is the right life to be living, you know what I mean? So I tried to give up by my own because I thought that I had all the answers, you know, and that didn't work. And within that first couple of weeks, you know, like I think it was just before he was born. Actually, I'm not 100% sure now that I'm thinking about it, because I went to a really short-term rehab, and when I went to this short-term rehab, I thought that I had all the answers. I thought that I had everything to take on in life. You know what I mean? And I came out of there, and I lasted probably 2 weeks, and I was back on it. You know what I mean? And within another couple of weeks, I was back in the same rehab, and then I came back out again, just trying to get clean to give my eldest son like a life that I thought was, you know, like I'm a role model. You know what I mean? And yeah, it ended up having a really bad breakup there, And that broke me, and I was just like, pretty much, nah, that's an excuse to use. You know what I mean? Boom, straight there. So that really led to like a really, really, really long relapse. And within that time frame, I ended up incarcerated for a bit. You know what I mean? And when I did 9 months, and then came out, and within 2 weeks of being out, you know what I mean, I was pinched with a small amount, and with that small amount, you know what I mean, I ended up getting 3 months jail, and I was furious at that, man. Like that really, because I was selling, obviously, and they pinched me with a small amount, and I was just like, I've learned my lesson. If they're going to send me away for that long with that small amount, like I'm never doing that again. So I was just like, it was a big I suppose wake up call in a sense, and I just went from selling and everything like that back to using, and that time frame itself was ugly. Won't go too far into it, but it was really ugly. It's there was Callum mentioned, like robbing our family members, you know what I mean? Like there's times there where I've robbed him, you know what I mean? There's a story there where where I ended up going home and taking his shit, you know what I mean, and trying to frame somebody else, trying to frame one of his exes, you know what I mean? And the thing that gave me up was the fact that I left the toilet seat up. You know what I mean?
First time he's admitting it as well. I know.
How many children you got, Campbell?
Yeah, I've got 2, Danny. So like two children to 2 different mothers, and when my youngest was born, I kind of tried to use that again as a motivation for me to get off. You know what I mean? And that relationship was a really toxic one, and pretty much at the end of that relationship ended, and same thing goes, like the insanity of my unmanageability, you know what I mean? As soon as I end up in a breakup, I think that the best thing that I can do is go back to old things, and that ended up with me. I moved away to get away from everything, you know what I mean, and the geographical, and when that relationship broke down, I was back in the old home and hometown, and within 24 hours I picked up, and within that time, like I thought, the best thing for me was to go back to jail, because I can do time, and I won't use while I'm in there, you know what I mean? I thought that was my best bet at getting getting away from everything, and I suppose getting a good head about me at the same time. And that didn't happen. And, I slipped into a really bad depression, where I thought that taking my own life was the best option, you know what I mean? And I've had suicidal thoughts before, and I've been really down, but that part of my life was when I really came really close to ending it, you know what I mean? There was just a couple of things that stopped me from doing it, and by the grace of God, like I didn't end up doing it, you know what I mean? I remember sitting in my friends who I was staying with at the time. I was sitting there, I was bawling my eyes out, man, because I was sitting there crying, and I've put this on this poor woman, and I've said to her, I don't know what to do. Like I think, like I need help. I don't know what to do. I think I need to go to rehab, and that's pretty much where she turned around, and she was like, that's not for me to decide. That's for you to decide, And she said to me, she goes, do you want some time to think about it? And, she grabbed her child and left me for about an hour, to just sit there and really evaluate my life and my choices, you know what I mean? And within that time, I really made the decision that I didn't want to do it anymore, and that's when I made the call.
And you mean this final time around, basically? The time?
Yeah, man. Yeah, that was the final time, it's just like...
Yeah, but where's your kids, if you don't mind me asking?
Yeah, no, that's fine. My eldest is in Leeton, my hometown, and my youngest is living in Corowa.
Are they with their mum?
Both with their mums, yeah.
cool. Yeah. I just I know like a lot of us go through and have our children removed, and I heard they come from Callum too, and it's such a horrible part of addiction, and I love most importantly getting clean and having to start to build those relationships again, and I definitely want to touch a little bit more on that. I can't wait to hear from you, Campbell, about what it was like to take that phone call from Callum. But before we jump into the good stuff of recovery, I'd love to hear from Michael, the cousin. Michael, I know you've had a heavy journey as well. Michael, would you share with us what it was like for you?
So I grew up the youngest of six. I'm the baby of the family, and my parents separated when I was 5, and that was hard because Mum had a lot of abusive partners after that, and I didn't really feel normal in my family. My family was pretty dysfunctional. My uncle used to manufacture speed, and we've seen a lot of shit growing up, and the only times I felt normal was when I went down to my aunties, when I was a kid, with Campbell and Callum, like they were the brothers that I never had, and, doing all the normal things, like breakfast in the morning on the weekends and like dinners and all that shit. Like my family never done that. And, I remember when my uncle died, that all stopped, and, it kind of left a hole in me too, because he was a big part of my life. And, I still stayed away from drugs for a while, because I was told I'm going to be the good child of the family, and I tried my hardest to be, like I finished year 12, but that's when I found drugs, and I remember I remember going out to a party the night before my HSC, not knowing that the test was on, and, I ate a pill, Ecki, before the test, and, I got a really high mark, and I thought, fuck, drugs is the answer, like if I can do this on drugs, like I'm set.
Yeah.
And done that for a few years. I started an apprenticeship. I had the girlfriend of 10 years. Life was going all right, except for the fact I was using. But I hid it from her. She didn't know. So it was like I was living a double life. And it wasn't until my father passed away. My father was an alcoholic. And when he died, it really created this hole in me, because I felt like I failed him, because like I was using drugs a lot, and that's the one thing he didn't want from me. He wanted a son that had a good life. My drug use really spiraled from there. I started using a lot more. I started going to work less. I was out every night playing the pokies and smoking drugs, and I ended up meeting a girl whilst I was in a relationship, who was all about using drugs, and I thought it was a great idea to leave that relationship and get with her, and that was probably the biggest mistake I've ever made in my life. Because that was a very toxic relationship. I had no one to pull me up on my behavior. I could do whatever I wanted, whenever I wanted. And, then my mother passed away, and it was fucking hard. My mum was everything to me, like she tried her hardest with us kids, and like my last memory of my mother, like she didn't even recognize me. That's how fucked I was, and like that hurts today to know that, so that's when my life really started to spiral more. Like I completely stopped working. I started selling drugs, started doing crime. And for a while I was doing all right. And until I wasn't. I ended up leaving her. Ended up like going to trap house, and I remember I got ran in on when I was in Penrith, and I got fucking smashed. And I did the geographical from there, and I moved to Marylands, and I thought, fuck, I'm going to hang around some islanders. No one's going to fuck with me if I got islanders behind me. And it turned out they were doing a lot more crime, a lot worse crime, and I started doing the same shit. And, that's when my life got probably at its worst. My rock bottom came straight after that. My brother came to see me and brought heroin off me, and I didn't know he was suicidal, and I sold him heroin, and he died that night. And that's a hard fucking pill to swallow, and like my brother, like he's always been an addict, like he's gone through some shit. I always aspired to not be like him, like I love my brother, but like I was always ashamed of him, of how he was. And, after he died, I realized that's what I became, and not even that, I'm the one who fucking put the drugs in his hand. I'm the one who fucking killed him, and that fucking broke me, I wanted to die. I tried to kill myself, but I was too gutless to do that. I started getting into a lot more trouble with the cops. I just did not give a fuck anymore. I really was so over life, and I felt like I failed. I threw away every opportunity life ever gave me. But I had this voice in the back of my head saying, you need rehab, and I've always heard people like fucking talk about rehab, and I was like, nah, I'm not a quitter. My mum raised me not to be a quitter. I used to joke about it, but I knew that had to be the answer, and I picked up that phone, and I remember from the get go, I had a real connection with the manager of that rehab, and I just knew that if I wanted a better life, that's what I needed to do, and life for me's gotten so much better since then. Like I'm actually able to look in the mirror and not hate myself. I don't fucking want to kill myself. I don't blame myself for my brother's death anymore. Like, yeah, it sucks. It is what it is, but it was the disease that killed him, and it was the disease that made me put the drugs in his hand, because that's who I am when I use. I don't give a fuck about anybody. All I care about is making money and getting more drugs. But today I have a connection with my family again. I've got these two lads back in my life. I've got my sisters, and I've still got a brother in addiction. And it's really hard for me to try and talk to him and connect with him, but I try. I still can't say no to him when he messages me for money or anything. Like I want to be there for him, but all I got to do today is keep myself safe. Which is hard.
Yeah.
Michael, I think it's the most beautiful thing that you do have, Campbell and Callum in your life today, and like it's one of the reasons why I definitely wanted to hear from you guys. But I hear your story, Michael, and I hear there's been a lot like you've lost. I just heard you say your brother, your mum, and your dad. Fuck.
Yeah. And my mum was never an addict, right? And like she had a stroke and got addicted to benzos, and that's pretty much what killed her. So it's just like addiction's riddled our family.
And your dad, what happened with your dad?
It was alcohol related, but like I'm not too sure exactly what happened. Yeah.
His dad always had like heart conditions, but too like, from when growing up and shit. So.
And Michael, when you said when you lost your uncle, that's when things started to change. Are we talking about Callum and Campbell's dad? Is that when you said?
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
Man, I just can't. It just shocks me. I just can't imagine what it'd be like. And I know we all have our own struggles too, and we all, at the end of the day, we all do have our own struggles. And like for me in particular, no matter what brought me to using drugs, the minute I picked them up, I just did not stop. And one thing that really came to light, what about children, Michael? Any kids for you?
No, I never felt right bringing kids into the world. I was the way I was.
Yeah. One thing that I was reminded of, especially when listening to Campbell, is I remember having this shameful conversation with my mum when my missus was pregnant. We're just about to have the baby, thinking that the baby was going to change me using, I was going to stop using it. And I say shameful because it's so delusional, and I know for a fact, and I believe this quite strongly, that there is nothing more important than drugs in my life. Like I used to think that my family and my children would be enough, but at the end of the day, I've got to say very shamefully, I wasn't enough. I was just an animal on the drugs until I finally picked them down. And building relationships in recovery has been something that I certainly want to hear. Actually, thank you so much, Michael, for sharing your story, and I'm so glad that the three of you boys are together. Like I just think it's incredible. Callum, how's your relationship? You talked about how many children, Callum?
I got 3.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So how's that going? Like, is there any?
Yeah, no, it's you know what, like I said, and just hearing you say that, then like my kids weren't enough for me to stop. Simple as that, and I carried a lot of shame and guilt with that for so many years. Like I had this fear that my kids were going to grow up and have a feeling that they weren't good enough, and I was just going to be this. I had acceptance around it for so many years that I was just going to die a junkie. Like that's how I thought I was going to go, and I'm very lucky that they're with each other. All 3 of them are with each other, and they're being raised by their auntie, like their mum's auntie and uncle. and they call them mum and dad, which for a while there, like it was hard. It was a bitter pill to swallow, but like when I started to come to terms with, I was still using, and I started to come to terms with like, you know what, maybe I wasn't fit enough to be a parent, and this was the best thing that could have happened for their lives, because they're getting this life that I don't think I would have possibly been able to give them personally. They're in this house where they're fucking so loved, and they're going to school, and they're with each other. They've got this great family surrounding them, and not only that, like these beautiful people have still let me stay in my kids' lives, and my kids know I'm their dad. They know I love them. They know my mum is their grandmother. I just went home the other week, back to Leeton, and I got to spend a day with them. And my daughter's got autism, and for so many years we thought, like, fuck, she's not going to be able to really grow in this world. Like, there was a lot of stuff around that. We don't know how she's going to be able to communicate with people when she gets older. And just the other week when I went and seen them, she sat down and she read me a book word for word. Like, the most beautiful shit's happening. Like, and it's just I appreciate everything. Like, and the people that have them, man, like, fuck, I've got so much love for them today. For so many years, I made out that they were the enemy as well. But today, like, I'm so grateful for these people. Like, they're giving my kids a life that I honestly don't think I ever would have been able to do for them. And yeah, shit, it's just beautiful. Like, the acceptance that I have around this stuff today, and it's only thanks to being clean. Like, if I wasn't clean, like, I'd still fucking be poor me. I'm the victim in all this, but being clean, like, I'm so accepting of it, and I can appreciate the time that I actually spend with them. Yeah.
So beautiful, Callum. That's one of the true gifts of recovery. I think like for me, in the beginning, I was really, really, really selfish, so selfish that I couldn't even, like, I wasn't able to identify my loved ones around me. But just hearing you then, identifying the gratitude that you have today for the life that your children have now because of, the circumstances and you build those relationships. I just think that's true evidence that of recovery in action, That's so good to hear. And Campbell, tell me about what it was like for you to hear your brother ring you up. You're on the phone. You're in rehab at reception. You take phone calls, and you get a phone call, and it's your brother Callum. Talk us through that. What was it like?
Yeah. Oh man, so I was house director at the time. You know what I mean? And yeah. When I was in that rehab, it took me a while, but I really took being there, really serious. You know what I mean? And when I just remember when he called, I was just like, Gunya resident speaking, rah rah rah, and he started talking, and I was just like, oh. How do I want to say who it is? I really want to say who it is. I want to say, yes, good on you. You know what I mean? High five. That's fucking awesome. You know what I mean? But I had to sit there and be as professional as I could, and I just, and as Callum said earlier, like I was stuttering and it was out of pure enjoyment and joy and love, you know what I mean? I was just like, yes, you heard me, you want to, it's just like, it was awesome. But
wow, that's so beautiful. I can't believe that. That is just like the maddest story. Cal, did you know it was Campbell? Like,
I was talking, and I know Camp, like, I just know his voice, like, he's just got one of those voices. But I was just, and I'm on the phone, I'm like, and I was just saying in my head, like, fuck, this cunt sounds like my brother. And then I just wanted to say, like, is this you, Campbell? But I was like, what are the chances that it is? Like, I doubt that it is. And then he messaged me a couple of hours later, and he went in the message, he wrote, Gunya resident speaking, and I was just like, I fucking knew it was you. I knew it was you. Like,
yeah. That is like one of the coolest fucking story that I've heard. So who started this? I know you've all tried rehab in the past. I think from what I said, who started this journey here? Was it you?
I was in Gunya first.
Yeah.
So I was a week in there, and I remember going out the back for a cigarette, and Campbell was in the little admin place when you're coming in. I just remember walking out there having a ciggy, and I just look up and see him smirking at me, and was like, "What the fuck are you doing here?"
And Campbell messaged me that day, and he's like, "You're never gonna believe who fucking is in here." I was just like, "Who?" And he went, and we've always called him Mikey. We've called him Mikey since we were kids, and he went Mikey, and I was like, "Yeah, fuck." I was like, "No way." And that blew me out enough, like it. But I was still out there using. I just thought, I'm glad these two are connected.
Yeah.
So hang on, but yet, and I mean, who cares? Time, but Callum, you're the last one in Callum, but you're the one at the moment with the longest clean time.
Yeah, I don't see. I made a little joke about that. If you boys were the ones that paved the way, and now years are behind me, But honestly, they because when I went into rehab, like I said, my initial thought was I just want to fix the relationship. There was I didn't want to stay clean. That was it. I was going to go in there, make this woman see that I love her, go home, and everything would be back to normal. But that didn't work out the way that I wanted it to. And then after a few, the relationship ended, and I was like, fuck, I'm going home. Fuck this. There's no point being here. And then about 2 days later, because I got a lot of support from the workers and the peers that I had in rehab with me. I shared about it at one of the meetings, and I saw these two on the screen because it was all through COVID. And
oh yeah, of course.
Yeah, and I had this this little penny drop moment, and I was like, you know what? I'm seeing this work for Campbell. I've seen him in some states, you know what I mean? And even before we went into rehab, and I was still out there using and trying to convince my mum to give me money, and she was saying, look, Campbell has told me that I can't keep enabling you. I'm like, who the fuck is he to take away my drug supply, you know what I mean? He started making sense in the world, and I saw these two on the screen when I was fucking struggling and wanted to go home, and it was like a day or two later I was like, you know what, this is actually working for the two people that I love the most, these boys, like Michael said, he's like another brother to us, and we're inseparable as kids, and I'm seeing it work for them, and I was like, fuck, there's no way that this can't work for me, and the penny dropped, and I ended up, that's when I feel like I fully surrendered to the program, and I made it all about me. I didn't finish the program. I was only there for 72 days, and then I went back home, but it was enough for me to fucking know, it's working for them, and I've got them back in my life as much as I did them too. It was enough for me.
So it's all the same rehab, yeah. It's all the same rehab you guys have gone through.
They went to who's?
Callum did.
I went to Goulburn, yeah.
It's all who's.
Yeah, all who's, yeah.
Who's umbrella?
Do I literally know, I reckon 1,000 people from who's clean, living their best life. I literally know hundreds of people who are killing it in recovery that have been through that program. So big shout out to them for changing.
I got told off my lawyer that Who's is one of the hardest programs, and that's why I went there. I knew an easy program wouldn't work for me.
Yeah, I guess.
Campbell, I want to know what made you ring Who's, Campbell, because I still don't even know that story.
When I was in the South Pacific, that they wanted me to go to Who's as a long term. And
it's good to
as the I wasn't too comfortable with the rumors of dobbing in your mates, you know what I mean?
You had no problem with that.
Yeah, but, that didn't sit too well with me, you know what I mean? But funnily enough, I go there, and I'm one of the first ones to call Michael on, hold him accountable, you know what I mean? Yeah, man. I thrived on it, you know what I mean? Once I surrendered to it, yeah, man. It's a beautiful thing, the accountability.
It's not what we expect, is it? And anyone else out there listening, anyone thinking about getting cleaner in their early days, I thought getting clean and coming to rehab and changing my life, I was going to be some boring, I was going to become some kind of, I don't know, spiritual guru, and I thought like life would be boring, but it's the complete opposite, isn't it? Like we start to build a life worth living. You know, guys. There's this photo here of you three boys holding. It's Campbell and Callum holding Michael Hughes. What happened? What was going on that day there?
Do you want to know that after I left rehab, I went home. I went back to my hometown. Like, there's no recovery life back at home. I was fucking in this. I was in a bad headspace, and I came up to visit them, and they snuck me into the exit house, and we got that photo. But,
See, that's what I mean. Like, we don't become saints, hey? Just because you get clean and you stop using drugs. I love that saying. It's not Saints Anonymous, you know. Like, it's true. Like, because I thought my whole life was going to be changed. It's going to become more serious, but in fact, you know, like today, honestly, I live a life beyond my wildest dreams, and it's all thanks, you know, to people like you three boys. The boys hanging together. You know, I heard, like, it's a huge part of recovery. Let's just start. We'll start wrapping it up. I want to hear what's the best thing that's happened. Have a think about it. Who wants to go first? Tell me the best thing that's happened, like the biggest gift of your recovery so far.
I think the biggest gift I've got is peace of mind. I got the chance to go visit my family and my parents' graves and my brother's grave. You know, I've got beautiful friends that took me down there, and you know, being able to leave my rehab medallion on my mum's grave made me not feel like a failure anymore. I don't have guilt anymore. You know, it's hanging on an angel on a grave.
Oh my God, that's
the best gift I've ever gotten in recovery.
Yeah, so just anyone listening, so at the completion of Michael's program, he was given a medallion, and that medallion, you've left that on at the graveside.
There's an angel on my mum's grave, and it's like hanging on a wing.
Yeah, beautiful.
It's beautiful, man. It's so bad. What a bad gift. Who's next? Who wants to share?
Campbell, you go.
Yeah. Oh wow. There's so many. There's lots, man. There's absolutely the biggest thing. The thing that comes to mind. The biggest thing is you know, I'm studying to be a youth worker. You know what I mean? And I'm actually working in the industry now. You know, and man, like it's just being. You know, I've started and stopped so many times. You know what I mean? And because I'm in here, because I'm, you know, actively doing things, you know, if anything, I've learned how to be active and continue to do so, and you know, give them back to society in a good way, and not taking. That's probably the biggest thing for me to date, you know.
Yeah, cool. Well, you're setting yourself up for the future, hey, Campbell. And like, you know, we hear it all the time, but we keep what we have by giving it away, and I feel like you're building yourself a life. You know, that's so cool, and it is a massive gift.
Yeah, like I get phone calls from boys doing, you know, a long wax. You know what I mean? And they say it's fucking inspirational what you're doing. You know what I mean? People talk about it all the time about getting out of there. You know what I mean? And you've actually done it. You know what I mean? And you're showing us that it's possible, man. You know, and it's that in itself is a really valuable thing to hear. You know, so
absolutely, man. Thank you, Callum.
Yeah, because I love talking, mine's got a little backstory, but like I said, I went back hometown, and I was really struggling for many months since getting out of rehab, and I started working, and I was in this headspace of Campbell rang me again one day when I was struggling, and I cried to him. I said, "Look, bro, I'm coming up with two options right now. I'm either going to fucking pick up or I'm going to kill myself." And he said, "Well, here's a third option: move to Sydney." And honestly, besides these two boys being the biggest gift, like moving to Sydney has been the biggest part of my recovery. Like, I was stuck in this hometown for years, done my damage, done so much using, and now that I'm here, like, I just feel like I'm finally starting to live this life that I never thought I could fucking dream of. You know, I as Campbell said, I'm also studying so I can give back what's been freely given to me, setting myself up for life. And I've just got this group of friends, these beautiful people that, you know, I don't question why they like me today, because I actually like myself. So like that's just been the biggest gift for me. And in doing all that stuff, like now because of that, like I can also be I can be a dad to my kids, and I can be a son to my mum, my stepmom, and I can be a brother to these two boys and to my sister back at home. You know, like I'm fucking just it's just amazing what putting down the drugs has fucking done. I always used to say, who would have thought putting down an ice pipe would have fucking turned my life around? You know what I mean? So
I'm so proud of you guys. You know, I'm so proud of you guys. It's amazing. Like, I don't know if you noticed, but like hearing your stories, and honestly, it just I don't know, it gives me happy tears almost. You know, like it's just crazy to think. Any words of wisdom? Sorry, there's one more thing. I want the words of wisdom now from each one of you. Just like what would your best piece of advice be that you'd like to share that you've learned?
It does get better.
Yeah.
What was that?
It does get better.
It gets better. Yep.
Yeah.
Hold on, hey. Hold on with two
Yeah.
hands. Because, the best is yet to come. Beautiful. Thank you.
Don't leave before the miracle happens.
Yeah. I'd also think like
put it in your mouth and shut up, Campbell.
Yeah.
Hey, I'll take the cotton wool out of your ears and stick it in your mouth, eh? Yeah,
you don't know, you don't have all the answers, so shut up and sit down and don't get out of that chair, you know?
Yeah.
And what I'd say is because of my personal experience with not finishing rehab, but I stuck around, you know. So like if there's people out there that don't think rehab's for them, just stay connected, because that's the thing that's turned my life around, just the connection. So stay connected and just stay. Don't keep coming back. Just stay.
So beautiful, boys. We've had like so many comments. There's like 150 comments. I'm going to do our best to go through and highlight some of those comments on screen shortly. If you got any questions, guys, drop them now. But what I would like to just say is, first of all, anyone new listening, this episode will be uploaded to the Kick the Shit podcast, which will be found on all your favorite podcasting platforms. And if you're listening from there, you can always come back here onto the Facebook live broadcast and check out all the comments. And thank you so much, everyone, for doing that, for listening. And boys, thank you so much for being so brave to share your stories. It really is cool.
Thanks,
so, guys, if anyone's got any comments or questions, please feel free to drop them through. But what I can do now, guys, as I'm going through, is I can just highlight some of the comments.
Oh, there's Carmi. That lady there, Carmel Dorr, she's back at home. She was the lady that planted the seed all these years ago. She's fucking amazing woman.
So glad I got to highlight that one. Becky, Sober is cool. Sober is cool is a dude over in Canada. He's got us about 600,000 followers. Hey, Sober is cool. Good to see you, brother. Thank you. What else?
Lee Bills, on your brother.
Yeah. Kayla says, the Callum. S Riot saying proud of you, boys. Andrew, well done. Well done, Callum. I'm going to just go through and highlight because you guys might want to see this. Kayla, Michael. Cassie is also saying, so proud of you all. Blessed to have you in my life. On you, Cassie. Clean. 2750. What's that postcode? Is that
Penrith?
Penrith. One of Michael's. The boys. Thank you, Tracy. The boys. Once you work, here we go. What's these comments? Once you work through every reason you have to use, drugs become boring. Lee. First we take drugs and then drugs takes us and we do what we want. And our families totally relate. Sorry, I'm terrible at reading sometimes. Here's this. It's one of yours. Yeah, so proud of you guys being so honest about your life. Thank you for sharing your stories. Beck, you guys are such an inspiration. Thank you for sharing. And guys, the comments go on and on. I'm going to have to jump through because there's literally 100 comments. Anyone who's got a question Now, please feel free to drop it. Let me just read here for a second. It's hard but amazing program. Yes, she's talking about who's, I'm sure. Yes, it's hard but an amazing program. Absolutely, Lee. Thank you for sharing. I'm trying to share this live, but it says not available. All good, Z. Thank you. Okay, what's the comments here? Questions. What was this one? Just what I needed for Saturday. Thank you to your three brothers. God bless. On you, Jack. How are you, bro? Thanks, F around and recover. Guys, boys, you'll be able to go back through the live. Who's this? Karen Lee. So is that Michael's?
That's our stepmom. Yeah.
Bless you.
Love you, Karen.
Yeah, Karen. I want to definitely make sure I don't miss any of your family comments. I know there's probably heaps of these. Great podcast, guys. You should all be super proud. Thank you for being. I know. Thank you for being so vulnerable. Who's this? So proud of you, winning trifecta. Yeah, they are a winning trifecta. All right, guys, that bit's always a little bit confusing going through all the comments. Boys, thank you. We done well. An hour and 1 minute. We were saying before the show, guys, that I can only do about an hour of therapy. This is like, but that was a really good hour of therapy. Stick around, guys. Everyone, again, thank you so much. Stay on there, guys, until the end of the broadcast.
Yep. Thanks for having us, Danny.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Thanks, Danny. Thanks, everybody.
Yeah, thank you. Stay there.